and welcome back to Deconstructing Damsels. I am your host, Jessica. This is my quick update or quickly put together podcast, I guess you could say, because some things happen on timing. So thankfully, Kerry, who is a patron, but also even more than that, she's a friend, has graciously stepped in, and we are talking about The Princess Bride. I'm not sure how people are going to react to my own reactions, but we'll see. I hope you enjoy it. I had a ball recording it and talking about it. So let's get on with some housework a little bit. Now, this is the end of March, which means it is the end of Magic Month, but have no fear because April will be Cinderella month. Yep. So we're going from one to the other. And if you hear any sniffling, I am so sorry. I am not sick. It is the spring, and that means my allergies are back. It kind of comes with the territory now, guys. Probably for the next month or two. I can't wait to talk to you about Cinderella month. I will discuss it a little bit more at the end, just to get you ready for the next, upcoming things that are going to be going on. But I'm mentioning it because Cinderella has magic in it, and yet it's a separate month. Why not? You can't really go wrong with any kind of fairy tale retellings, in my opinion, and that's basically what The Princess Bride is, right? It's like a view of it. A less damaging The Last Unicorn, we'll say. And I mean, Fury Rising was mythology, which is all the kind of same thing, so it kind of just works together. Now, I want to say thank you to my patrons, to Marlene, the Elms sisters, Kerry from Muppet Profiles, also the guest today, and Kelly from Boobies and Noobies. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to give me money, I guess, you can always check out patreon.com/damselspodcast just to kind of see there's like a $1 level. I made sure because I'm not that girl, so I was like, it kind of isn't fair to keep one down. But, that's the wallflower, and that gets you, access, your name and stuff like that. So there are benefits. Go check it out. I cannot wait until you listen to this episode, so I'm going to let you get there now. Enjoy all about The Princess Bride. So I am back with Kerry, who very graciously said she would come back on the podcast because I had to do some flipping and reversing and rescheduling stuff, and quite frankly, I couldn't read fast enough. As fast as I read, I would not be able to read a book fast enough, and I did a lot of mini reviews already on the books I'd already read this month. So I was kind of in a bind, and Kerry was very gracious enough to come in because she's awesome.
Well, I'm so glad to come in. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we get to talk about this wonderful movie.
I know, because we're talking about
The Princess Bride.
Yes, and this was your suggestion. So I was like, okay, cool, we can do this. I know this movie. I've seen it often enough.
Mm-hmm.
And bless YouTube, because those of us in Germany don't always have access to movies the way Americans do. So, but I was able to watch enough to kind of refresh memory points, because it's been 5 or 6 years since I last saw it. So
yeah, I see it at least once a year. I love it. At least once a year. I'll watch it, sometimes more. It's just such near and dear to my heart. And then, like I was telling you the other day, my husband and I, when we got married, we actually played the Storybook Love. That was the song I walked out to. We had kind of a very non-traditional wedding, so I had my friends and my friend and my sister, they had my train, and I was walking out, and they were playing that song, and later my friend said, oh, that was the best wedding entrance ever. So yeah, I appreciated that. But yeah, it was just perfect. I love that song so much.
I'm really glad, because I thought that was a really interesting way of getting married, to having something important walk you down the aisle. Because when I got married, it was whatever the City Hall gave us. They had they just have a package you have to pay for, because you can't get you can get married in a church, but it's much less common.
Yeah.
It's easier. Like you go. It's kind of like at home when you go to the like county office and you just get married, like that way. But my particular place had like where I got married. They had a wedding venue that they did, on certain days of the month and stuff like that. And it was an old like a cigar factory that they had like converted from pre-war era.
Oh, that's cool.
And so yeah, and so like if anyone saw my video last year when I got married, you can actually see some of like the old like woodwork and stuff like that. But we didn't get to choose things like songs or whatever because like we didn't have that. It wasn't quite that customizable.
Right.
So I like hearing about it when people can put a little bit of their personality into their wedding.
Yeah, we really had fun with that. It was definitely nice and very non-traditional wedding. But yeah, we loved that we were able to put the Princess Bride in there. It was just so us. It was perfect.
You non-traditional never.
Oh yeah, no, not me. No.
I would never think that of you.
Oh yeah, no.
You're,
I know it's
you're
a surprise.
Straight laced all the way.
I am. It's true.
I mean, I can't not see you as straight laced at this point.
Yeah, I kind of do things my own way. So, yeah, and I was definitely like that for my wedding, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so what inspired you to have that for the wedding? Like, I mean, like, what was your thought process for it? Like, did you just go like, I love it, or it was like there was something like beyond the like, was there something in the Princess Bride that just made it to where you guys were like, no, we have to do this?
I don't think there was any. I think it was just that I loved the song. I don't think there was anything. I don't know. There's just something magical about it, and like we played the instrumental version. It wasn't the singing version.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just kind of fit the theme of our. I mean, we didn't really have a theme, but like, I don't know. It just kind of fit. I think I didn't. There wasn't anything in it. Like some of the other things we did were a little more. We put little more thought into. Like there was this song we played. Major Trekkie. Like no secret there, but it was it was a song from one of the episodes where it's a flute song, and we did that. Because I love the show, but also because my husband's late father loved the show too, so that was kind of a nod to him. And yeah, we also did we did a song from The Hobbit, and that was because my husband loved it. But yeah, I think Storybook Love was just we both love The Princess Bride, and it just kind of fit for our wedding, I think.
I was very surprised you didn't have Muppet in there somewhere.
Wait, did we have Muppets? We had Piggy and Kermit on top of our cake.
I knew there had to be a Muppet somewhere because if anyone is not aware, you run Muppet profiles.
I do.
I frequently retweet and do that with. But
yes, we did have Muppets. We definitely we thought about playing the Somebody's Getting Married song, but my cousin beat me to it and did that at her wedding a few years before, so that didn't happen.
Rude.
But yeah, right. No, hi cousin. But yeah, so we just had Piggy and Kermit on top of our cake instead, and it was really. I ordered it from I think someone on eBay made it, and it was just really cute. Like Piggy was wearing this little like seafoam green dress, and she had Kermit with her, and it's just adorable, and we still have it somewhere. I think Piggy fell off it though, so we'll have to glue her back. But yeah. Yes, we had Muppets too. We managed to squeeze a lot of our nerdy the nerdy things we love into our wedding.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify because again, like Muppets are a major part of your life, so I wanted to make sure they were included to go with the other major things in your life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think there would have been any way that they would have not been included. That was one of the things when we first started dating. That was one of the first things we talked about, and we watched the first season of the Muppet Show together. And yeah, there was no way the Muppets were not going to be in our wedding.
I didn't think that was going to be possible either. Clarity is the key to our friendship here.
Yes.
Okay, so have you read the book?
I have not. Bad librarian. No, I have not read the book. Have you?
I have not, but I brought it up because I was watching. I mentioned this earlier off recording, but I was watching Kerry Elweiss,
something like that.
Yeah, him. I was watching him on Google Talks from 2014 when the book came out, and they were talking about how he had read the book before he was in the movie. He read the book when he was like 13. So he knew the source material.
Right.
And he loved it. And so he was talking about how like he was like, Rob Reiner and everyone had like, requested he, show up to audition for it. And he was like, okay, sure. Because he just got done doing like this indie little film and he was young and he was like, this is awesome. This is great. And so he went there and he said the first thing he did was to introduce himself. He was like, he did the Fat Albert's hey, hey, hey.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like him. He does so many voices. Like, you wouldn't think that looking at Wesley, but yes.
Yeah. And so like, but it was like really funny because like you can see where his knowledge of the material obviously got him the job as well.
Yes.
Because it means that they'll know what's going on. Like, not just within the story of the movie, but within the plot. And they can kind of, sometimes it's nice to be able to throw in little additions and kind of improv a little bit. And if you know what you're improving, it makes it a whole lot easier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know because I don't do any kind of theater. I run from the camera. I run from the stage. Never been my thing. So, but I don't know. I had only assumed that it would be very much easier because it was something that he obviously really loved if he remembered it, 10 years later. Because he was only 23 when he was
He
casted.
was so young. They were so young. Oh my gosh.
Like, he was a baby. That's actually what my husband said. Someone was like, he was a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Robin Wright I think she was like 20 maybe. She was also a baby. So young.
Yeah. And then you like see like the other age of the other actors like Andre the Giant, who was clearly not. Because like I remember watching Andre the Giant in wrestling when I was growing up because I'm from the South, so wrestling, not wrestling, but wrestling is, it's a whole thing. And so I remember watching him and then, I don't think that Mandy had done anything yet that I knew him much from. Because I knew him, I mostly know him from Chicago Hope. Like that's like everyone else knows him from like usually people say like Princess Bride or CSI. I know him from Chicago Hope because that was one of my godmother's favorite shows and we'd watch them like every week on CBS. So I remember Chicago Hope more. But I didn't know oh heck, the guy.
Vincini, Wally Shawn.
Yeah.
Wally Shawn.
Yeah. I keep wanting to call him like Clueless. Just my
Oh
brain just
yeah,
calls
the
him
guy.
Clueless.
Yeah, the teacher from Clueless. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like I know him more from that just because like I was like what I think 14 when Clueless came out and it was like it's the only adaptation of Emma that you will ever see me say I like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really don't like Jane Austen, which I know I'm sorry I'm probably gonna get a barrage of comments about that, but I don't like Jane Austen.
To each their own, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like she's not my jam, and so I was like, okay. I watched it again. I was like, it's him.
Yeah.
And then of course, like my favorite parts of it were not even Billy Crystal. It's Carol Kane.
She's so funny. Liar.
Right. Well, see, like I'm like when I see her, I think of Scrooged, which is filmed around the same time, I believe. And so my head is just full of her her voice, and I loved her in Scrooge. I have to say that, like she's like Scrooge is one of my favorite Christmas movies, mostly because I like the fact that Bill Murray's getting like the crap like knocked out of him half the time. I appreciate the genius on film, but he's kind of a dick, and I don't like dicks, so so I can appreciate this value.
Yes.
Same reason I liked Stripes because he kept getting the crap beaten out of him when he was in the army. But like I think of Carol and I'm just like I can imagine like the ghost of the present. Yeah, the ghost of the present. I can imagine her in that way in the role of the Princess Bride. Like I can see why they casted her the way they did.
Perfect.
Because and I also remember her from I want to say she was on Taxi too.
She might have been. Yeah.
I think she was. She was Andy Kaufman's, which I'm not old enough to remember Taxi, everyone, but like, because I was born in 81. So, but I remember watching it on Nick at Night. I used to watch a lot of Nick at Night as a kid because I love older TV shows.
Me too.
And I want to say she was Andy Kaufman's, his character's girlfriend or something at the time. Because I remember watching that and watching Cheers at the same time and going, Okay, but Rhea Perlman is not Carol King. But they play the same roles, so I'm very like, so my brain was just like, oh no, this works because then you got Danny DeVito and both ways for them, so that's fine. But it's one of those things of like, the people from other things, and so it's always fun to kind of, when you rewatch it, I put the characters that I know them best from in those roles.
Yeah. Have you seen Stranger Things?
I have not.
Carrie Elwes, he plays the mayor in the 3rd season. And yeah, it was a really like just total slimeball character, and he just was brilliant. Really, really good movie, or show rather. Such a good show. I love it. And I don't usually like that kind of horror. Like, I don't usually like that, but it's such a good show. And yeah, like I said, he was brilliant. Very, very talented actor. Very funny. And I listened to the audiobook version of his book, and he narrated it. And it's really, really good. I highly recommend it to anyone who is interested in the book. It's called As You Wish. And he's amazing. He's amazing. Oh, and funny thing about Billy Crystal and Carole King. So I was watching this, I think it was a Watch Mojo video where they were talking about facts about the film. And I should probably fact check this, but this is where I heard it. But I guess Mandy Patinkin bruised a rib because he was trying so hard not to laugh at Billy Crystal's improv.
I can believe it.
I mean, Billy Crystal's a funny guy. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Like, I could totally see that.
And he was like peak 80s comedy too.
Yes. Yeah, that was shortly before When Harry Met Sally, and yeah, he was definitely peak 80s comedy back then,
And like a couple years before City Slickers and stuff like that, yeah. But I think he was still doing the thing with Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg then, right? I think that was right around the same time he was doing the Comic Relief.
Yeah, Comic Relief. Yeah. I think that was.
Because I remember watching that on HBO as a kid. So.
Yeah, I remember that too.
That's how I know him. Like, all these other things I've seen him in, I always think of him as the HBO special guy.
Yeah, it's interesting how we do, like you were saying, kind of associate people with certain roles. Like, to me, he's Harry, and then, I mean, Carrie he'll always be Wesley to me, and Wally Shawn, the guy who played Vincini, like, he's either, like, I think of him as Vincini, but I also think of him as the Grand Nagus from Deep Space Nine. So he's kind of split for me there. But and then Christopher Guest, we didn't talk about him. Oh my gosh, he's so funny, and it's interesting to see him in this role because he's just so uptight and like proper, and then you go and watch him in films like Waiting for Guffman and Best in Show and A Mighty Wind, and he's so goofy, and that's not Count Rogan at all. So I really liked seeing that side of him. He's such a good actor because if you look at him in some of these other films, like it's hard to tell that this is the same person playing those roles. He was really, really good, I think.
Yeah. I think they did a really good job casting in this movie.
Yes, I think they did an excellent job.
Because the cast kind of like carries a movie, no pun intended. They kind of carry the movie because at some parts it can feel a little bit long, but it's the actor work that kind of makes it work.
Yeah,
right. Like there are some scenes where it's like, okay, I got you. Because I mean that's like, it's one of those like ADHD things that we're just like, okay, we have to move now.
Yes.
My brain starts to trail. Like my brain will trail off after like 2 or 3 minutes of things that I really enjoyed that I could like quote to you, and my brain will still just travel on off some other way.
Same.
That's just how my brain works. Like, there's a reason why I do like 2 of these a month, because I can handle that. If I did more than that, nothing would ever come out because my husband and I would never be able to keep up with it.
Yeah, that's why with our podcast, with Muppet Profiles, we've committed, like we decided when we decided to do the podcast, like we wanted to, it's hard sometimes when you have ADHD to try to commit to things. Cause like for me anyway, there's always this fear, like, what if I don't follow through? And because that happens, sometimes I have a hard time following through because of my focus issues. So we decided we were going to commit to 1 year, and if we want to keep doing it after that, we will. And if not, that's okay too. And we're just going to do 1 episode a month, maybe 2, but just 1 a month. And And so far it's worked out. And originally it was going to be a rewatch of The Muppet Show, but it just wasn't working. We just weren't getting up the focus to do it. And now that The Muppet Show has been released on Disney Plus, there are a whole bunch of other rewatch podcasts now. So I'm glad we didn't go that route. And then what we've done with our podcast instead. This is so nice. I get to plug my podcast.
Yes, you do. Yeah. But it's a fun podcast. And I have to admit, like, openly, I've been a guest, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll have another episode with you too soon. And yeah, so coming out soon. We just recorded the other day, so we get to talk twice this week. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the way we did it was we were like, okay, we should have guests on. And if we have guests, then that will motivate us to get this episodes out because the guests are going to want it to get out. And that's really worked for us. So yeah, you really do have to find your own way to stay focused and to manage things when you have ADHD. And yeah, sometimes it just takes a little finagling to figure out what works. But yeah, that's how we're managing it with the podcast, and yeah.
And you've had interesting profiles too, because we should mention the profiles are someone comes and talks about and Muppets that they enjoy and why they enjoy them and little things here and there. I did Grover, which was great because everyone knows Grover.
Grover's amazing.
Grover, anyway. Mm-hmm. And then, I also just did one on Skeeter, which was a little bit different because it's harder to find content. Because she's basically disappeared from the
Right.
For 25 years, she was just no longer a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's interesting because it's like you're doing character detail in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do a lot of research and stuff. And kind of roll it back over to here to Princess Bride before we go off on our tangents again.
Right, yes.
Because it's a very common thing, listeners. We do it all the time. We talked for an hour before we started recording.
We did. That's true.
but bringing it up, how you see the characters kind of affects how you enjoy media.
Mm-hmm,
and especially visual media.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're attached to a character, I'm attached to Carol's character, obviously, because I love her. You see things a little bit differently than other people, and it's nice to be able to talk about that. Give a different point of view to what you may not see.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. Yeah, it is great to talk about that. I wonder, Inigo is one of the characters I'm drawn to. I think he's such an interesting character. How much he loved his father and how much that hurt him when his father was murdered. That was very powerful. And then I remember when I was a kid, when I first watched the movie, I remember when the Count Rogan threw the dagger at him and it, he got hit with a dagger, and I'm like, Mom, no, he can't die. He's the good guy. And my mom was saying, sometimes the good guys die, Kerry. But he didn't, thankfully. But I remember being very distressed for a short amount of time there. But,
also, really bad timing on life lessons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of bad timing. Yep.
Maybe up it a couple years. Didn't talk about that?
Yeah, that was, a little young for that, but, well, yeah, I mean, but yeah, so that was and that scene when he and Count Rogan are fighting and he's doing the, I want my father back, you son of a bitch line, that just, so powerful. And I actually watched an interview with Mandy recently where he was talking about how his favorite line was the end, one of the last lines where he was telling Wesley about how he'd been in the revenge business for so long that he didn't know what to do with himself anymore. And Mandy said he liked that because he thinks revenge is pointless. So yeah, it was interesting to hear his take on that. It's interesting to hear the actors' takes on their characters. And I was trying to find this before we did the show, and I cannot find it. I hopefully will, but there was an interview with Robin Wright somewhere where she was saying that all the men got to be funny and she didn't. All the male characters. Yeah.
She had to be a straight character the entire movie. There was no, she wasn't allowed to be almost part of the adventure. She was an element of the adventure, but she wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, that's That's one of my few complaints about the movie. Like, one thing that drives me nuts is that scene in the fire swamp where, like, Wesley's fighting with that giant rodent and she's just standing there. And it's like, grab a branch or something, knock it on the head, you know? Like, you're just watching him roll it. Like, ugh, I hate that. But, you know, otherwise, I mean, I don't really have too many other complaints other than that, but that's always bugged me.
Well, it's like, okay, so we all have established that the Kevin Costner Prince of Thieves is awful in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I like is I like the fact that Maid Marian fights back openly and defiantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one thing I wanted from you know,
From Buttercup.
the princess. Yeah, well, I was gonna say the princess in the role. Not so much as a character, but just like in general, I want to see the princess fight back.
Yes, in
right?
general,
Like
absolutely.
I don't like I get the damsels in distress. I mean, deconstructing damsels is a reason, but also like I also want to have, if something is so subversive, I want to subvert that trope as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, like I'm not saying she has to be like, you know, Xena,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, like you said, like grab a branch or do something to make it an easier fight for the guy who's fighting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like be part of the action. Like I said, you don't have to do a lot. Just like we were mentioning the eels.
Yeah. Well, see,
earlier because we were talking about alligators in Atlanta because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
we were talking about it, but what I liked about that is that she was like subtly defiant in those moments as well, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I was going to mention that.
She was more active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you know the character had it in her, you know, like they could have easily like had her at least like bonking the rat on the head or something. You know, if they're going to have her jump out of a boat and then swim in eel-infested waters, they could have her like try to fight back with a big rat. But yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, if nothing else, just like jump up and grab like the smallest switch you can find and just like swat it.
Right.
Like have it turn on you.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, you know, Wesley can kill him.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene, I tell you what. The fire swamp though, that was such an interesting thing where like they fell on the sand or like they went in the quicksand and then the fire and and her dress caught on fire, and that was the first scene that she filmed. Actually, I saw in one of the specials. So the first scene she filmed was when they lit her on fire, so that was interesting for her. But yeah, it was an interview with Rob Reiner. That's right. Yeah, so that was Robin Wright's first scene. When you watch the movie, you see her caught on fire. That was the first one.
Well, I wonder if that actually explains somewhat of the passive actions as well, because it was the first day or the first like scene of filming. Mm-hmm. So maybe she hadn't hit her groove yet.
Maybe not.
Because her position was very different from the guys, because they were all fighting, or like, you know, scheming or something. Like they were being very active in their roles, and maybe she didn't really know how to take it or deal with not being active.
Maybe. It'd be interesting to ask her that if we ever get to meet her.
Between that and like Rob Reiner, because Rob Reiner is a very interesting director anyway.
Mm-hmm. He is a very interesting director, I agree.
I mean, we've all seen When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, oh, that's right. He directed that too. So he directed 2 Billy Crystal movies, like within a short amount of time. I wonder if he directed any more with Billy. Like, you know how some directors, they have their go-to people, and maybe Billy was one of his.
I was wondering that too, because like Rob Reiner has an interesting history anyway, just because of his background.
Right.
In case anyone doesn't know, he was Carl Reiner's son. Carl Reiner was Alan Brady on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Those of us that are old enough in the millennials, I don't think it was playing that much for any generation after that, but like he was huge. Like, you know, Carl Reiner had his own like talent show. Like, there was a whole thing. And so I think that, you know, it allowed Rob to kind of come at Hollywood differently, and I think maybe that's what made his movies a little bit their own way, like a little bit slower pacing with a lot of. So Joss Whedon's known for a lot of talking, like talk, and action at the same time. Whereas, you know, I think Rob is more known for, I mean, say from Spinal Tap, but like, you know, for like the more general audience ones, like they're much more. They're not as fast. They're not slow, but they're not fast. There's a steady pace.
Yeah, it is a steady pace.
But there's always a lot of talking.
Yeah, a lot of dialogue.
In that steady pace.
Because if anyone's ever seen When Harry Met Sally, they'll know exactly what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, it's like you see that especially like when he's talking to his friend Ira, I think is his name.
Ira, yes. Oh, no. Ira was the man that his ex-wife was seeing.
Oh, right, that's right.
What was the name of the other guy?
Jesse? No, Jesse was a girl.
No, I think it was Jesse. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like some of the names, guys, it's been like 10 years since I've seen the movie. So
oh yeah, Marie was Carrie Fisher, and I think Jesse was the guy. I think he was Jesse. Yeah.
Because like, you know, it was very interesting to see
how the styles were not exactly the same, but like you could definitely see that was going to be his like tempo for a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is definitely. Yeah, I never thought about that before, but you're right. Yeah, he definitely has a style, a very distinct style, I think, and I like that. I like that about him, and I like his films.
Yeah, I do too. Like I really like him because like I was just looking this up because, well, I'm on my phone because that's what I do. And apparently there was a thing in the Hollywood Reporter that says that Billy Crystal and Rob Reiner, written by Billy Crystal, had been friends for 40 years.
Wow.
Oh, I see. That's right. Because no, like they met in 1975 when Billy Crystal was cast as his best friend.
Oh, was that on
All in the Family? It was Mike's best friend.
Oh yeah. Okay, I forgot about that because I remember Rob Reiner very clearly on All in the Family, but I don't remember.
He played Mike.
Yeah, Meathead. But I didn't remember with Billy. That's really cool.
So in reading this, it also says that like Norman Lear saw Billy Crystal at the Comedy Store a couple weeks before, and he created the role just for Billy Crystal.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was like
it was an episode where Gene Stapleton and Carol O'Connor, which of course were Edith and Archie, were not on that week. So it was more of a kid's generation. So it gave Rob more of a chance to kind of stand out a little bit.
Yeah, that is really cool. So that's a long time to be friends. That's a long, long time.
And apparently Rob was also fixing the script on the episode and talking to producers and doing all that. So I can see where they would be able to work together if they had been friends for 12 years or something before this movie came out. So I can see where they'd be able to find the rhythm of the comedy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean they did that brilliantly. I mean the film is just. The comedic timing is perfect, and and then of course Billy Crystal. I mean, just so brilliant in that role. Like, why don't you give me a cut and pour lemon juice on it? Like, just so funny, so funny.
And what's really weird though is it's like I'm looking at this now. According to this, Billy Crystal was 41 when he was in When Harry Met Sally. Meg Ryan was only 28, but they were supposed to go to college together.
Really? Huh?
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher was only 33, and Bruno Kirby, who played his friend, was 71.
Wait, what? Bruno Kirby was 71?
No, I'm sorry, he was 40. Sorry, he was 40. He died when he was like, I don't know, he died at some point.
I was going to say, he looked pretty good for 71.
Oh, he died at 57, sorry. He would have been 71 when this came up. So.
Okay. Yeah, he died not a couple of years ago, I think, right?
2006.
Okay, maybe. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like sometimes things that happened in the 2000s, I'm like, oh yeah, a few years ago. Okay, no, like 15 years ago. Oops.
Like time keeps on slipping.
It's true.
But I mean, it says a lot.
Yeah.
About how like that's how he was able to use Billy to mold that character in a way that the movie needed desperately.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm sorry any squeaking you hear. I'm in my husband's chair. And God bless him, man. He sits backwards in his chair, and it's like one of those desk chairs. And so every time he does that, it gets a little bit more squeaky because it's doing tension things it shouldn't be.
I can't hear it.
Okay, good.
Because like I'm always afraid that like people can hear it in the mic. But so it's interesting to see how that would work out because like when you also think about because Carol had to be about the same age.
Something like that. I would think so. Yeah.
Which is nice. It's nice when their ages match up.
I think so, too.
Obviously, it didn't happen when Harry met Sally, so that's kind of really nice.
That is nice. Yeah, I agree. I like that too. Now, here's a question. You were talking about time slipping and all that, bring up that song. Like, would you ever want to see the movie remade? Since they're doing all these reboots and stuff. Like, for me, that's a hard pass. Like, I feel like there's just some things that, like, there are a lot of reboots now, and I think that's fine. And sometimes I do like the remakes, but this one, I'm like, just please leave it alone. Please don't redo it. I don't know. No, just leave it alone. What do you think?
I don't know if it would work that well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's a movie of its time as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, casting wise, like, I don't know if you would be able to find anyone that would be able to fill all those roles. And I don't mean in the same way. I don't mean like, because they redid that one, was it last year I think they did it? Where like they had the filming where people filmed it at home or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know if it would necessarily work. Just because we don't have the same caliber of actors, and that's nothing against the calibers that we have now. It's just, in the intervening, like, 30 years, there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Like, Hollywood has changed a lot in what they expect and what sells and stuff like that.
Yeah, and acting styles have changed, I think. And then
Yeah.
There was a uniquely, like, 80s feeling to that. And, and certainly Fred Savage, right? Not Ben is on Boy Meets World. Fred Savage is the one that's on the Wonder Years.
Yeah.
So Fred Savage and then Peter Falk. Like, I mean, that was so 80s. I mean, he's playing like this video game, and if you look at his room, it's so 1980, and that was a big part of the film too. Like, we forget that, or I forget that sometimes, but. That's really kind of why the film happened, was because there's this grandfather reading to his grandson who's sick. And I mean, that, like I said, if you just look at his room, it was very 1980. And I grew up in the 80s. I was a kid then. So, it makes me very nostalgic just to see that. So, yeah, very 1980s film. And it would be quite different now. And yeah, like I said, I hope it's not remade, because just leave it alone, people. Don't remake it.
I don't think anyone could take Peter Falk's place, which, in case anyone doesn't know, Peter Falk obviously is a grandpa, but he was also Columbo.
Mm-hmm.
So those of us that are of a certain age and maybe older really remember Columbo. Also, if you have Cozy TV, you probably have seen him on there by now.
He's so good.
Because Cozy TV is one of those like satellite stations, and they have like Cozy Mysteries, so Cozy TV.
Oh, I did not realize that existed. Cozy TV, that's amazing. Cozy Mysteries are so big now.
You have to find it, because like sometimes you can find it like on the, like, you can find them online to watch it for free or whatever if you go through certain, like, I can't remember the websites, I'll have to look them up, but like you can find them, because we have one here, we can watch it from here occasionally, because I forget about it. But like I love them. I love Cozy Mysteries. Like, Cozy Mystery TV is like my jam, guys. Like, if you want to lose me for about 6 hours, let me watch 6 episodes of Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, Matlock, but also Columbo. Like, because Columbo was a very, like, against stereotypes, and so he was definitely not Kojak, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mention all that because, I don't know if anyone could have that gruff voice that, that kind of, it wasn't even burly,
mm-hmm.
but it was, it was very filling. Like, like he filled his trench coats, right? Like, he fit that way. And so I don't think anyone could really play that kind of a grandfather role, because that was very Peter Falk.
It was, yeah. I don't know that anyone could play him either, or take that role like he did. He was just so endearing, and like, it felt very real to me too. Like, that could have been anyone's grandfather. Just sweet guy who loved his grandson and annoyed his grandson. And there was another one of the videos I watched to prepare for today was, they actually had an alternate ending where the grandfather was going to leave, and then Fred Savage's character was going to look out the window and see Buttercup and Inigo and see them all on the white horses riding by. And
so very Labyrinth.
Yeah, very Labyrinth. I'm really glad they didn't do that, because I think that was very 1980s tropey, and like other people are glad that they didn't do it too. Like, because they really wanted it to be more about the grandfather's love for his grandson.
Well, I don't think that would have worked. Like, it worked for Labyrinth, because Labyrinth, those characters were already in her room. Like, those were already, like, she identified with them at that point. So because I don't know if anyone's ever watched the very end of the Labyrinth, but you can actually see the characters on her bed and around her room, which is literally why they said they're not leaving, because they're there. Like that's still part of her childhood, and that's still part of her, like, whatever. And so I don't think it would have worked very well for the Princess Bride at all.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it would have really taken away from the movie. I'm really glad they didn't do that. I don't think it would have. Yeah, it would have just felt like another '80s cliche movie, and the movie really stands out, I think. And yeah, I don't think it was a necessary scene. I think they made the right choice.
But okay, so what would you say about gender role swapping?
Um,
Because everyone should know I titled this "Bride of Princess" because I've been married to my husband too long. That's very him, and so so it just kind of comes that way nowadays. But like I was thinking, it'd be really hard to recast Andre the Giant. But I was thinking, I don't know her stage name outside of wrestling, but my husband watches a lot of Eve Wrestling, which I don't know if you know what it is, but it's a women, so it's like women's wrestling in the UK. And it's like, and it's very interesting. They get different people from different parts of the world wrestling together, and like, so over here in Germany, the women's wrestling doesn't really have a place. But there's a character there's a wrestler that goes by the character name of Alpha Female, and I think she's in, I don't know what she's in. I think she's filming something right now, but I don't remember what it was. Because I saw her on a live stream, because they were raising money for Rain the other day. They were doing a live stream of all their old films or their old things that they hadn't done in a while, and talking to the wrestlers and stuff like that. And the woman that plays Alpha Female, she would be really good in that role. She's not as tall, but she's built. Like she's got that like brawny build, hence alpha female. I mean, it makes sense, but like, I could definitely see her in that kind of a role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. You know who I actually think, and this is kind of funny because my husband and I, this didn't happen, partly because of COVID and partly just because we haven't. So we went to a Halloween costume party a few years ago, and we had a good time, and it was really last minute, so we just bought these really cheap costumes, and we were talking about what we could do the following year, and one of the ideas was that I could be Inigo and he would be Wesley. And I think Inigo could be recast as a woman.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Catherine Zeta-Jones style.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Not necessarily Catherine Zeta-Jones, guys, but like, someone with her kind of on-screen charisma. And if anyone's ever seen the movie The Phantom, which stars Billy Zane and Christy Swanson, it's based on an old comic.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite Christy Swanson, even above Buffy, or even the Gator one that was on Sci-Fi, which is my like third favorite one. But I would say like I think that kind of a role would really work, because she played the female antagonist in that one, and she was wearing like the pilot gear, like the old school bomber jacket and stuff like that, and I could see that role being female.
Yeah, I think
I could see it easily being a female role. Because
absolutely, yeah.
We know women are good at it.
Yeah, women are good at it.
There's that whole French. I cannot remember her name. Is it Julia something? The French lady that used to go dueling men all the time. I cannot remember her name.
Julie Delpy?
Oh, no. It was like back in like the Regency era, but like she used to.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, her. I cannot remember her name.
I will look it up while you speak. But she was we know that like women can do that, and obviously they fence now too, by the way. Like I'm not saying anything, but like actual sword play, stuff, that's a whole different thing. And so we know they can do that. Like we know women can do that. We see it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, little side story here, going into my Star Trek world here. But there was an episode where in the Next Generation where they go back into like this Robin Hood like fantasy like, or it's, if you haven't seen the show, basically it's just like this being called Q like makes them go into this into this Robin Hood other reality, but like it's real for them, and they actually have to fight. And the only members of the cast who knew how to fight were Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden, the women. They were the only ones who knew how to fence, and they weren't allowed to. Like everyone else got to fence. They dropped flower pots on people's heads, even though they knew how to fence.
Ugh.
So yuck, yeah. So yeah. So I mean that was just an example where women knew how to fence there, but they weren't allowed to. So I'm glad that times have changed that way. And yeah, I really do think Inigo could easily be played as a woman. I mean, because I think anyone could be devastated by the loss of a parent, especially the way his father died. So I think the quest that Inigo went on, like that could be someone of any gender.
When if you were to flip the main villain into a woman, it'd be very easy to have it set up to where it was the mother killed.
Yes, exactly.
And I think there's like there's knowledge in passing that kind of quality of craftsmanship on, that I think that like women don't often get that, right? Like we don't really hear about that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like but women pass on craftsmanship all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's
like,
true.
It's not like
men are not the only ones creating these things, and so it hasn't throughout history. So it's really nice when you can see it. Because I looked up that lady's name, by the way, and her name is Julie. See? I knew it was Jewel something.
Mm-hmm.
De Aubagne.
Mm-hmm.
Aubagne. I don't know. Y'all, she's French. I can't speak English, much less French.
I tried.
But it's like D little thingy-majigger, and then Aubigny. So I'm just like...
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, she's a badass, but I can't say Julie's name. I remember her name was Jules or Julie or Julia or something.
Just call her
like,
Julie Badass.
I know like 4 Julias in my life pretty much, so I remember the first name. The second name, not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I would love to see something like I think I'd like to see it if they remade it, to change it up a little bit and create different gender expectations. Because when I say flip, like I say female, but like I don't necessarily mean like cis.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, not like, absolutely non-binary.
Like yeah,
and I'm bringing this up specifically because I know my friend is listening,
mm-hmm.
and I know a couple of other people are listening who we have these conversations a lot
mm-hmm.
about trans women and men and how we place someone not cis in the line of roles and stuff. And I think that it would be very easy to say a woman actress, not a cis woman, but a woman.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fluidity in gender, and I don't want to say that I specifically mean cis, because I don't. I just think there's a lot of options out there for women.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because I think that that's one thing that the 80s was really bad about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be really hard to redo some of these movies as well. Because it would have been easy to flip the script a little bit and create one of the characters as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. Which left, Buttercup as the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So she's like the prize.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's a very male-dominated movie with all the characters, and I don't know if the book was that way. That would be interesting to find out.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read the book. I almost bought it a couple times because I've seen it on sale, but I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I choose things I know I'm gonna like because I'm very much a mood reader, which is why I'm creating something to go along with that, which I'll announce, later next month. But
mm-hmm.
like, I want to make sure that that things are a little bit more equitable.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Because there's a lot more options out there
mm-hmm.
to cast, Like, I mean, if you look at the cast, it's an all-white cast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, guys, there were actors of color at the time that could have played some of these roles. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so when I say I want to recast it, I want to recast it across many different levels, not just a revisioning, but like an entirely separate entity. Something that feels more for what is more known now.
Yeah.
Versus kind of known back then.
Yeah, well, I think Hollywood was not making space for people who were, not white and not cis. And now that space is being made more. So I think that's definitely something. If there ever is a remake, I do hope that they do make space for actors of color and non-binary actors, and just not just all white cis men.
Right. And also, like, I think it's easier to find options now too, because God bless, we've got social media. Like, this isn't like 1980 where it's who you know. Because, like, a lot of the big names we know got those roles because of that. Robert Englund? Is that his name? Yeah. I keep wanting to call him England, and I was like, I know it's not England. Freddy Krueger guy. But, like, he is one that, like, basically pushed Mark Hamill to go get his role in Star Wars. Because they were roommates at the time, and they shared an agent, right? So, so a lot of it is who you know, even if it's not someone that you think you may know. So, and I'm bringing that up because there's so many more ways to find a cast that can reflect what people, I don't want to say want, because it's not want. It's something that we need. And we need it because the world is full of so much more. And by limiting it, you're limiting what you can tell in the story. Because things may not read the same way. And you're missing some of the depth if you don't kind of diversify.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Diversify your thinking, not diversify the cast, but diversify your own thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So
I wanted to raise that because I didn't want people to think that when I was saying recasting, I was thinking in, an equal cast. And I said Catherine Zeta-Jones just because I've seen her in the outfit, so I know that it could work. Like, you've seen her in that, like, she was in the Zorro movie, and she was in that, God help her, she was in that Entrapment movie with,
and a very big, large asshole.
And so it's nice to see that, roles are available and women can fill those roles in many different ways, and we've seen it all across TV and everything else now, and we've got streaming options. There's so many people finding their ways that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there really are, for sure. One of my first thoughts, this is a white woman, but was the woman, I can't remember her name, but the one who played Wonder Woman. And Robin Wright, I think, was in that movie,
Gal
actually.
Gadot.
I think she played her mom, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she played
Hippolyta.
Okay, maybe not the mom, but, like, yeah, she...
I think, no, yeah, because, like, the mom was somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I just can't remember who that was. But you're right, because she was training Gale in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen Gallivant?
No, I know about it because, so I have a friend named Jesse who is probably not listening, but I have a friend named Jesse who I've known for years through Dragon Con.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually met her at Dragon Con one year. And so we've been friends, off and on for, like, God, 2008, so 12, 13 years now. But anyway, she loved Gallivant. Like, she absolutely loved Gallivant. Like, she was so angry when it was canceled.
We were angry too. Like, my husband and I, we loved it. I didn't think it was going to get a third season, but I was bummed out when it didn't. I feel like they wrapped it up pretty well, but, like, I want to know, like, your friend will know what I mean, but, like, I wanted to know what was going to happen with the dragon, with Tad Cooper, and, like, yeah, such a good show. But I brought it up. I was thinking of some of the characters, and one of the lead characters is Karen David, and I think she's from the United States, or maybe she either grew up in the U.S. or England, I can't remember where, but she was on Once Upon a Time, too. She played Jasmine, and...
I know that, because I saw that one.
Yeah, like,
I didn't watch a lot of Once Upon a Time, guys. I happened to see that one.
I haven't seen it at all, but I knew she was in it, and in Gallivant, she played, I don't know if it was around the same time period, but, it was kind of like, had that sort of medieval feel to it, and she played a princess who was trying to, like, in the first season, her family was part of I can't remember if it was Valencia or Hortensia. Like it's just such a silly show. It's awesome. But her family, her kingdom was captured, and she was trying to get, if I'm remembering this correctly, like capture Gallivant as a ransom or something like that. So she was being made to do that. So she tried to fool Gallivant. But anyway, this is so. I'll just tie it in. Like I'll try to tie it in a way that makes sense. But basically, like she did sword fighting. She more in the second season, but there's actually like this big epic battle, like a funny epic battle in the second season where she's leading people out to march and she's on the horse and she's got I don't think she had a sword because they didn't have swords. She had something like they'd run out of swords, so people had like pots and pans and stuff. But she was so good in that role, and I'm like, she could do like if they were to do a remake, she would be a great Inigo type character. She'd be wonderful, and she can sing too. Not that I don't know if they'd be doing singing or not, but she's a great singer.
Well, even if they don't, a lot of times in modern movies, they've been adding more of the actors if they can sing, adding them to the soundtrack. I mean, most people aren't like Roberts and Pattinson and taking movies just so they can sing, but
yeah, sometimes they can incorporate into the.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be easy. It'd be easy if she was doing that role to sing as before looking down and finding Wesley, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'll have to send you the video. Your listeners should definitely see the song I'm talking about, where it's a good day to die, and she's singing about the people going into battle, and everyone's like, oh, you know what, maybe we can reschedule, we don't really want to go into it's just so funny. Yeah,
which actually fits the Rob Reiner comedy and The Princess Bride.
Yeah, it's very
if you think about like Crystal and Kane.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of that. Yeah, it's a great show. I highly recommend it, and yeah, I was definitely bummed that it did not get its third season, but I think the way they wrapped the show up, like they kind of knew it was unlikely that they would get another season, so they wrapped it up well.
That was ABC, right?
ABC, yes.
Yeah, because ABC is known for, if it goes without their standards, they quickly axe things that maybe they shouldn't axe.
Yeah, no, they should not have axed it, in my opinion. Like, yeah, but the whole, like, it was really funny, like, at the, they really kind of poked fun at all that in the show. Like, in the first season, they were singing about, like, or at the second season, the beginning of it, they were singing this song about, wow, we couldn't believe that we got a new season. We didn't think we would. And it's just hilarious. They're, yeah, just so fun. And yeah, Karen David, she would be an excellent Inigo-like character. I think she'd be wonderful.
And I think that's, so I'm one of the few people that I don't buy the romance in The Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
Like it falls flat for me a bit, mm-hmm. Which again, I know I'm making statements that may end up with some comments, but it doesn't work. Like, I see them more as people that are working together for a goal,
mm-hmm.
But I've never really bought the romance. Because again, bringing this back to Prince of Thieves, God knows, I know it's an awful movie, guys, but there are some elements that actually work, and one of them that works for me is in the end, when you see the things like relief and stuff like that, I think that it was so steady that sometimes some of the things that I needed it to do to bring it into a full circle didn't necessarily happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I'm one of the few people that are that way when it comes to this movie, because so many people love it, but I just, like, the adventure was great. I just didn't know if I necessarily bought the ending for the romance side of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean too. I mean, I buy the romance, but also it's not like, I think the adventure and all, like, everything else in the movie really is what sold me. It balanced everything out really well, but I don't know, for me, when I have a romance, I like to have a little build up, like, a little tension between the characters. Like, this one, like, within, like, the first, 15, 20 minutes, she's like, Fawn Boy, get me that picture, and then she realizes she loves him, and then they kiss, and that's it. And there's, like, no building up tension, no slow burn. I like a slow burn, no.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, like no, they're just in love right away, and it's sweet, but I don't know. I like to see characters like slowly falling in love and seeing that part of a story, and you don't get that in this story. So if the rest of the film weren't so awesome, I don't know if I'd even want to be talking about it. But I think I think the rest of the film is well balanced. But yeah, I mean, I bought the romance, but also like it didn't. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts now, like from the do you know who Corey Ryan Forrester is, and Trey Crowder? Trey Crowder's the
I know who Trey is because I'm friends with some of my former professors on Facebook. Which you got, guys? Sorry, I still have a Facebook. It's a pain in the ass, but I have one because when you live 4,500 miles away from your family, sometimes that's your best option. But I have it, and so he would my former professor Josh would post it, and so I would see a lot of his redneck.
Yeah, liberal redneck. Yeah, so Trey Crowder is a liberal redneck. And then have you seen the Buttercream Dream? That's Corey Ryan Forrester.
No.
Oh, you got to look it up. It's so funny. It's so funny. He's like pretending to be a wrestler, and he's like yelling at like all the racist people and stuff, and it's just it's so funny. I highly recommend it. But yeah, so I was talking I brought that up because they say like when something is good, or like they like something, or like, oh yeah, that hits or that doesn't hit, and we do not say that here. I live in Maine in the northeastern US. We don't say that here. So I was about to say yeah, like the I buy the romance between Wesley and Buttercup, but it doesn't hit. So I'm yeah, but I mean, that's really the first word that comes to mind, though. It didn't really. I bought it, but it didn't really do a lot for me. So yeah.
It feels like if they had left that out and just had them be on an adventure together, it would have been fine.
I think it would have been fine too, and I don't know if other people would have felt that way. I know a lot of other people do like the romance, and that's fine. But I think they could certainly have made it. Just an adventure between these two, or maybe make an adventure and have them fall in love at the end. Just give me a slow burn.
Because okay, so when you talk about farm boys and stuff, like I reverse it in my head and I think about Ever After, and I think about how Danielle threw the apple at Prince Henry, right? And so that's their first introduction, and it's a very different setup, but it's roughly the same time period, I would say, like. In magical fairy tale world, it's set somewhere around the same time, and I'm thinking of like I bought that romance because there was more of an emotional connection even in that moment of her like smacking him with the apple and him like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but you know what I mean? Like there was obviously something there to that.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy that with Wesley and Buttercup because I think it was a case of tell, not show. And so you're telling me this, but what are you doing a little bit that's like showing me that?
Mm-hmm. That's very true. You're
forcing it without actually like indicating where it's coming from.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you don't really see where it's coming from so much. And then he's away for so long, and then he comes back, and their love is just as strong. And, and that happens. That absolutely happens. But I don't know. I feel like that was definitely missing for me too. And it would definitely be interesting to see, like, I don't know. Like, I repeat myself. I do this a lot, but I would definitely like to see a slow burn if. And Gallivant was actually sort of like that because, spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it, but the Karen David's character, her name was Isabella, but she went by Izzy, and then Gallivant, they were slowly falling in love over the season, and then they realized they love each other at the end, and so yeah, that's what I like. I like slow and then build up to emotional connection. Yeah, like. Yeah.
I call it emotional foreplay.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
Yes. There was no emotional foreplay with Wesley and Buttercup. They realize they love each other and kiss in the sunset, and and is this a kissing book?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, but tell me how you get to that level. Like, explain to me, like I felt like even when they were doing the scenes of them together, they were still kind of separate a bit. Like they didn't have that. They were missing that. I think they were missing that connection that I like as a person that reads a lot of romance and watches a lot of romance, and y'all, I watch the cheesiest shit off of Hallmark I can find sometimes. So it's not that. It was like no burn, but you're shown little bits here and there where you can see the characters connecting. And I think comes from the fact that, like, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Cutting Edge.
I still need to see that. I'm a huge figure skating fan and I still have not seen it.
Look, I'm demanding you see it and we'll talk about it again, okay? So, because I love The Cutting Edge, because like Kate is very much like Kate in Taming of the Shrew in many ways, but she even goes through some of the degradation at some points, which I'm not a fan of, but you watch the characters going through these adversarial moments and they're still like together. They're still like a character group, but you can see them working together.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Like I want to see where, I mean, because like in the movie, one of the characters calls what they're doing as foreplay, and it is like those. It's not even the enemies to lovers so much as it's just they're in a situation together, so why wouldn't they have some kind of commonality?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like sometimes that was missing in the fairy tale aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because even in Beauty and the Beast, take your pick about which one. They're still like ignoring that whole Stockholm syndrome conversations people have. They still are in a situation and they bond in that situation, that trauma. And I feel like, going through a forest where rats are trying to eat you is a trauma bonding moment.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe that's just me. But I think if something the size of, like a hippo is trying to eat you.
Yeah, that is
trauma.
Yeah, trauma. I mean, when he's already been a pirate and then she's been lit on fire and they fell like,
right.
They went into I mean, that's like there's like trauma upon trauma upon trauma there. So yeah, trauma bonding.
I mean, like when you're in that situation together, that's one thing that where people come together. And so I feel like it wasn't that maybe Rob forgot that part of it.
Yeah.
Cuz like I think he saw the adventure and forgot about the romance that goes together with it.
That's entirely possible. Yeah, and then too, I mean, we're talking about trauma bonding, and to bring it back to the rats, like I think that if you are bonded with someone on a journey like that, like if you're feeling that bond, then you're not just going to stand there and watch while a giant rat tries to kill them. Like, so yeah, I think that, and that could certainly be that, I think, is one of the reasons too why like their relationship, I buy it, but it doesn't really do it for me because it's something like that just feels a little one-sided, maybe. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but like, if
no, it's definitely one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, if my husband were being eaten by a rat, I would be like grabbing everything I could to knock the rat out, and just, yeah.
Right.
I mean, even if I didn't know who that person was, they're trying to save my life.
Right.
Let's extend the favor a bit.
Yes, exactly. Totally.
And so that's the side of the Princess Bride I don't really buy, which is funny because I'm on a romance podcast. But, I'd buy it more if it was an adventure of people that were together. Like childhood friends.
Yes.
Like if they'd been childhood friends and like something happened and he disappeared and she's just like, the hell?
Mm-hmm.
And you're back and why? But we have this to deal with, so... And who are these people and why are they on our side? Can we have conversations in the middle of all this fighting?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah, it would be. I wonder if the book goes more into their backstory. That would be interesting to see if there's if they go right from As You Wish, Let's Kiss in the Sunset, and then Wesley goes away to be a pirate. Like, is it that short, and then they go right into adventure, or is there more of a build-up? You know, do we see them falling in love and how Wesley winds up being a farm boy on her farm? And yeah, it would be really interesting to see. And her family, you know, who's her family? Does she own the farm by herself? Like, I have questions about this. Yeah.
Yes, because it's like she's like young when this starts. Like, so like I don't think she's running the farm by herself.
Yeah, right.
She doesn't, because she doesn't seem mucky. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't seem to be like in the muck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she doesn't.
So it's like very cleanly dressed. Like she said, she wants it to like shine. It's like she wants to see her face in the.
See my face shining by morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you're looking to see that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not down in the mucks very often.
Very true. Yeah. You know, and I'd also like to hear the story about, like, you know, how did Prince Humperdinck come to pick her? Like, he just thought, hey, this woman's pretty, and you know, and he's, you know, the secret is that he's going to murder her on the wedding night so they can start a war. Mm-hmm. But,
she wants to murder herself.
Yeah. So he, like, how did he come to choose Buttercup? Oh, you know what another part of the movie I don't like is, before, like, when she and Wesley are arguing and she still thinks, like, they're up on that big hill and they're arguing and he hasn't said who he is yet and she still thinks he's the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he's just being so nasty to her and being like, did you wait all this time and da-da-da. It's like, well, why don't you just tell her? Like, why are you grilling her? Why don't, you know, you're like being mean. Just, you know, there's a better way to ask. Like, you know.
It's a little pilly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, I don't know, just, you know, and I didn't notice that growing up, and now that I'm older and I'm kind of learning more about, I don't know if that was gaslighting exactly, but just, it wasn't, you know, that wasn't.
It was an unfair advantage. Yeah, like he held all the cards in that situation and didn't extend a branch to her, say, hey, like, you know, like, say something she knows, right? Like, it doesn't have to be as you wish. Say something like, you know, how did the saddle look? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you can establish a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, and, you know, you don't have to make it like, how dare you leave me? Or, you know, or like, that she didn't know it was him, but, you know, like, you abandoned, or what was it? Like, I don't know. Did you wait a week for the, you know, out of respect for the dead? Like, you know, like, I don't know. That was just so...
It was very gross.
It was gross. Yeah, like, you know, and I mean, really, if you think about it, I mean, she thought he was dead. What was she supposed to do? Wait for a dead guy? Like, you know...
right.
And obviously, you know, the death cannot stop true love line. Like, I got to admit, that tugs at my heartstrings a little bit, but still, like, you know... If someone's dead, like, or you think they're dead, you shouldn't have to wait for them. And... Right. For him to get all pissed off at her for, you know, thinking, you know, for moving on and marrying someone else, like, I don't know. It was just silly.
You weren't there, so how would she know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, she's not going to know. And, like, ugh, that, you know, the older I get, like, the more I watch that scene, I'm like, ugh, you know what? She should have pushed him down the hill.
You know? Exactly, right? Like,
yeah. Sometimes actions are relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, because, like, I'm currently listening to an audiobook called The Tycoon's Vacation by Melody Ann. And I'm listening to it. It's almost becoming a hate listen at this point. But I started it, so I'm going to finish it. Because I've already DNF'd like 6 books this month. I'm trying not to make it 7 or 8 or 9. And so... And yeah, because like some of them are just they've been really hard for me to read. Just the writing style was wrong, or the characters, or whatever. But like in this one, to relate it back to this, you know, this guy owns this resort, and he's in the surfing, and he hits this beautiful lady on the head. And so, but he owns the resort, but he doesn't tell her that until a week later.
Mm-hmm.
So he has all his staff, like, you know, making sure not to disturb her, or rather, not letting her know, blah, 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 blah. So, like, there's this whole, like, cover up and then, like, he wonders why she's mad when she, like, slaps him. And I'm like, because she slept with you and you didn't even say who you were. You pretended you were someone else.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, it's a level of trust. Like, why don't you trust me? Like, if you're trusting me enough to love me, or you're trusting me enough to sleep with me that way, Like, obviously you're trusting me because you didn't use in the book they didn't use a condom because it's a surprise baby or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a series.
Not a fan of that trope, but yeah, anyway,
right.
Go on. Yeah.
But yeah, but there's this whole thing of like, he comes up 5 months later and he's like, well, why are you so mad at me? I was like, because you lied about your identity. Like, she thought she was falling for somebody that was not you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if you don't understand that, it's the same thing in this situation, I think, of you have to, like, you can't be mad for someone for not knowing if they have no idea what's going on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, he really was not putting himself in her shoes there at all. It was just all, oh, you hurt my feelings, I'm a dude, and you didn't wait around for me, and, yeah, all that, and, yeah, first, yeah.
I know that this film is lit, which talks about the book and the movie a lot. Their first episode was The Princess Bride, so I think maybe we should be listening to that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like, that was the first episode, and it talks about it. So I haven't listened. It didn't even occur to me because I keep forgetting there's a book. But I'm gonna say everyone should just go listen to that after they listen to this because it's another take on The Princess Bride. So
yeah, I will have to check that out too.
Because you were asking about the book, and I was like, wait, I know there's someone that does that. It just didn't occur to me that it was a book. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, I forget sometimes too. It's interesting, like, and there's this whole, sometimes I feel like since I have a library background, I'm like, oh, but I'm supposed to like the book better. I'm supposed to read the book first. But there's so many movies out there that are based on books that you don't even realize. And then, I don't know, like Rambo and 101 Dalmatians. Although for that one, I was going to say some of these ones that I'm mentioning, like, I kind of don't want to read the book, but the 101 Dalmatians original book, like, that is really good. I highly recommend that. I think it's better than the movie. So, although I think I read the book first though, so that might be why I think that too.
Speaking of that though, are you how do you feel about the Emma Stone Cruella?
I have not seen. It's
if you look, they've actually got, it's not out yet, I don't think, but there's a trailer for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like an interesting concept. Like, well, didn't they already have Glenn Close do that too? Like,
yeah, well, it's basically playing her young,
playing Glenn Close's character.
So it's basically like, from what I gather, it's a bit like that. And like some of it reminds me a little bit of The Devil Wears Prada from the
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the trailer or whatever, but you should go watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I mean, I do like stuff like that, where did this person come from, and like prequel type. Yeah. Well, I don't usually like prequels, but I like something like that where you get to see a character from the beginning. But it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully it's not going to be like a Star Wars, like the first 3 movie, or the episodes 1, 2, 3. Sorry, Star Wars.
Yeah, the ones that no one ever talks about because they involve things that just make no sense.
Oh my gosh, that first one. Oh my god, I don't want to go too off topic here, but like that, I don't. What happened in the first one? I have no idea. I don't know what happened. I just remember a race, and that's it.
I don't know anything because I honestly don't really like Star Wars, so I haven't seen a lot of it.
Yeah,
I'm saying all my I don't like opinions apparently are coming out on this episode. But like I can't get into it. Like it's just like if I want to do something with a space opera, I'm going to do something like The House of, what is it called? I got to get the second book soon cuz before the third one's coming out soon. Oh, it's a Spark of White Fire, I think is what it's called. Mm-hmm. It's a space opera, but it's on the I cannot remember how to say it, but it's based on Indian mythology. So
that sounds
yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, I highly recommend that book. It was really good. Like I devoured this book in like a couple of days, and it's someone from an Indian background writing it. So I think it's by Sangu Mandana, I think is how you say it. It's very good. It's a Spark of White Fire. It's a celestial trilogy. So it's like that. Like it's got like those kind of like elements to it. It's got like, you can definitely see where the Star Wars influence was, but I think it's much better done. Mm-hmm. Granted, it was written like 4 years ago, but you get what I mean. Like there's more. it's got a tighter story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do definitely like a tighter story for sure.
And you can definitely see where George Lucas was inspired by all this stuff. When you read the book, you can see the parts that were inspired by the mythology, and it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Have you seen any of the films or just some of them?
I mean, I've seen some of them, but like I'm of the age that I had a Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, I did too. Oh, I had Grubby. My sister had Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah, see, I had Teddy Ruxpin, and I didn't like Teddy Ruxpin after I saw the daggum Ewoks.
Mm-hmm.
Because they terrified me for life. I'm like, it's like I recently had Sarah Blair on for Halloween, and it's like a devil koala meets a Teddy Ruxpin, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, those Ewoks are kind of scary. Yeah, I was just asking because, this is a romance podcast. So, they're like, I haven't seen all the films, but my least favorite one is Rogue One. And a big reason is just because, it doesn't have, so spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, like, all the other ones that I've seen, like, there might be a death or two here, but like the good guys win and all that. But in this one, like, every freaking character dies. They all die, and it's depressing and sad. But they're the two characters. I don't remember their names now. Diego Luna played one of them, and then the other one was what is her name? She played the wife in wow, I'm really bad with names right now. Okay, hang on.
I don't remember half of them anyway.
Yeah, I'll look that up. But anyway, like, those two characters.
You talk, I'll look it up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was in Rogue One. And it was just the two of them, like, they had a really, like...
Felicity Jones? No.
Yes. Okay, that's it, yes. So I thought it might have been Jones something. Jones was part of the name. Yeah, like, her and Diego Luna, like, they just had, like, this... It was kind of my, like, angsty, like, slow burn kind of romance feel to it. And obviously it was not a romance because they died. But yeah, that's kind of my jam more. So I didn't like that movie, but I did like the two of them. So yeah, little sidebar, but be interested to hear what your listeners think. If they, if you have any listeners who are Star Wars fans, I would be interested to see what people think of that. Because I think people are divided on that one for sure.
Well, I kind of want people to talk in the comments because, guys, like, this is going to go up on podcast, pod places, but also it goes up on YouTube. So please, I'm not going to say this loudly because I'm monitoring all my YouTube comments, folks. But you can make a comment on it and tell me what you guys think about some of these questions because, like, I want to know, like, have you read the book? Like, have you read, The Princess Bride? Have you like, how do you feel about the romance? Like, how do you feel about the romance in other, like, in, like Rogue One? Like, how does this compare to your experiences as a romance person? Because, like, you can always catch me on Damsels Twitter, literally Damsels podcast, but, like, not everyone has Twitter, so there are other options. There's also, like, other places I'll talk about at the end of the episode, but, like, let me know what you guys think about the romance and how this works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm totally, like, I'm excited to hear what people have to say about that. I'm still kind of new to the romance genre. Like, I read romance sometimes growing up, and I think I watched more romantic films, but I'm really kind of becoming more part of that fandom now, I guess, if that's the right word. Like, I'm still learning a lot and learning what I like, but, yeah, I always find it fascinating to hear, like, what tropes and what kind of stories people like, and yeah, I'm interested to hear what your listeners have to say.
And you're totally a slow burn fan.
So... Yes, yes, I love a good slow burn.
So, to that, if anyone has any slow burns they would like to recommend to you.
Yes, please.
I know that a lot of people like Mariana Zapata. I have not read her, so I cannot say yes or no, but she's got a lot of really high recommendations from across BookTube and Twitter and podcasting and stuff like that. So, but, like, let us know who your recommendations for a slow burn are.
Yes, I would love to hear who people like for slow burns. Yeah,
and
love me a good slow burn.
Mm-hmm. How can they give you any recommendations? Where can they find you to do that?
You can find me on Twitter, and I've got a couple of accounts. The one I use for my books more, and for romance is it's Kerry Berry, KerryBrry. ARY. And then I've got one where I do more Star Trek content. I haven't been on there as much lately, but it's Care Bear Lib. It's KERRBEARLIB. And then if you want to follow my podcast, it's Muppet Profiles on Twitter. So you can definitely follow us there too.
Yeah, because like I know that like you're on a lot, and I want people to give, because like I can take the recommendations, but it doesn't help if you don't see them. I mean, granted, you follow me, we talk all the time, but you know, if people want to reach out, I want to be able to get in touch with you and let them know.
Yeah.
You know, what are good romances? Like, what's a good slow burn romance? Because that's totally a trope that is really popular. So
yeah, hit me up, people. I want to know. I want to know what you like for your slow burns. Put it on my.
To add to that though, steam level. How steamy do you want the books to be?
Oh, steamy. So how does one rate steamy? Like there's.
Well, like,
do you want it to be like there's like closed door or you know fade to black, however you want to put that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's like when I do my ratings on Instagram, I now have like it's usually like 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So like 1 being closed door, 5 being like a Katie Roberts, for instance, you know. So like where would you fall on that line?
I would fall maybe like a 3 or a 4. Like I don't like. I think 5 is a little much for me. But yeah, like a 3 or a 4 maybe. Like I like a good sex scene. You know. I just read this book by Beverly Jenkins. Forbidden, and
she's a great author.
It was really good, but like I was so disappointed by the sex scene. It just like
which book did you read?
Forbidden.
Yeah, that's I love that book, but it's not steamy. It's better as a slow burn to like it's more of a slow burn, like a soap opera.
Yeah, I mean it's slow burn,
you know what I mean?
Forbidden love, and like you know with the build up with these two people who like shouldn't be together, or who think they shouldn't be together, like with that kind of a build up, like I need a little bit of a sex scene, like you know, yeah, it was very I don't know the right word, just I need a little more description.
So you need like a 3 or a 4. You need something that's going to give you a little bit of a, which actually maybe why we didn't like, and maybe why neither one of us really cared for this romance, because there was no slow burn, there was no build up, there was no anticipation, there was no emotional foreplay, there was no payoff at the end of that.
Right, they were already in love, like their love story like it had already. I like the before building up to when they fall in love, and this was just like boom, they're already in love. So
yeah, and I think that's why it didn't work for either one of us.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that is probably why. Yeah. So okay. Slow burn 3 or 4 on the steamy.
Okay, so we're gonna say that you need some slow burns with some steam, not quite Katie or Nikki Salone or anything like that, but something that's got a little bit like a 3, which is like I think most romance usually comes around a 3, like the popular slow burn. So we'll ask people to give you that, and they can find you again at Muppet Profiles.
Yep, that's my podcast. And then if you're looking for like the best place to reach me for book recommendations is Kerry. Yep. Yeah, KERRYBRARY.
Yep. So we're going to catch you there. And then, of course, there's the Star Trek that is not done that much. And there is the fan fiction, which,
Yeah, okay. I have not gone public with this yet, so I'm...
No, I'm not asking about that.
No. Yeah. No. You know what? I can...
Not yet. I don't want to closet anybody.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's fine.
You've got the fan fiction.
So,
I do write fan fiction.
Your friends
that are listening to this will know how to contact you from the fan fiction side, and they may be able to give you some really good fan fiction that's steamy, that's based on some of this, not necessarily this book or this movie, because I think it'd probably blow your head off, but like not kill, but like blow, like boom, volcano. It would probably be too much for you on that one.
Yeah.
But I think that you could definitely, they should be able to find you there, so that works out well.
For sure.
Like I said,
I'm trying not to let anybody know, but just like you've got your fan fiction, so you've got that community, you've got the romance community, you've got the Star Trek community, so there's ways people can get in touch with you on how to find.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, to give you the best romance. Rex.
I'm still kind of getting comfortable with the whole fan fiction thing, but if anyone wants to DM me, like, I'm more than happy to give you, like, where you can find it. And actually, so part of the reason I'm still a little reluctant to talk about it is, like, I feel like I'm kind of hypocritical, because, like, the stuff I write is a 5. Right. But I don't like to read 5s as much. I like to write it, but I don't always like to read it, so.
But I was going to say, but that's different, because what you write is different than what you read, because you know what you're visualizing. When you're reading it, sometimes you don't always know, because you don't know the next page of what you're reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. I'm glad it makes sense. It wasn't making sense to me, but now it does, so thank you for saying that.
No, that absolutely makes sense to me, because it's like, I was telling Dee the other day that I see things cinematically when I read. Like, that's just how I see things. Like, I don't mean that, like, I see it in a movie form. Like, I see it as a moving picture. That's how I've always been able to see things. And so I have to be careful. Like, that's why I don't read horror, or I don't read, like, super dark romance or stuff like that. So there is that. In a minute, we got to wrap up, because my dog is looking at me for my husband to take her OUT.
Yeah, no worries.
But
yeah, I'm so glad we did this, though. I love talking to you. So I'm
me
really
too.
Glad we did
but
this.
like
I wanted to bring up the fact that like it's how you process is how you process, and how you see things and how you vision them is how you envision them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Oh, thank you. Hi, Penny.
Yeah, she's making her little coughing noises to go outside. That means her bladder is. So she's got kind of like jacked up lungs from very cruel children when she was in Spain,
and
poor baby.
But sometimes if she lays wrong, if she's got a full bladder or something, it makes her cough a bit. It's too much pressure on her inner sides. And right now she's just leaning up at me like, "Oh, pet stinks."
Oh.
I found her on the couch. She came up to me on the chair, and so I keep forgetting I have the headphones on, so I can just sit and pet her. Like now, she just did her. You've seen it. She did her little flop.
Yes, I love her flop. She's so cute.
Yep, she just flopped at me. She's smelling me like, "Oh, pet stinks."
Oh yeah, I should actually probably go feed my cats. I'm sure they're probably going to be coming down. And
if you want to keep your hair ties, yes.
Yes, yeah. My kitten, she's almost full grown now, but she has started eating my hair ties, and that's not good for her or for me or for anyone involved. So yeah, have to keep her from eating the hair ties and give her food.
You gotta go feed her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This was so fun, and yeah, I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Oh, I definitely will. He's gonna take her out, and then we'll just kind of relax, and I'll work on my secret project a bit more.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. All right.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, have a good night, and thanks again. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. I like it when you come on.
I love being on. All right.
All right. Then I will let you go and stop recording.
Okay.
So what did you think? Was it a good episode? I thought so. I hope no one hates me after my evaluation of the romance. So sorry. It just doesn't feel like a romance movie to me. I also may have sounded a little bit nervous when I was discussing the recasting, and that is simply because I could not think of Nyla Rose's name when I saw her in my face. So that was kind of like, that's why I kept talking about alpha female, because they're very similar in ability to, throw someone over a ledge. So I hope that you guys take no offense to that. I did not mean to. I'm just putting that out there. I did a little bit of a preview just to make sure everything was okay, because I really do not want to insult anybody, I promise. If you guys have fan casting, please let me know. You can catch me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Damsels Podcast. You can also find this episode on damselspodcast.com, which also has comments below it, so please feel free. my host has a thing and we can just transport and import it in, and it's all kind of cool. Now, to talk about next month. Next month is Cinderella month. Yay! I love a good Cinderella retelling, guys. Like, I don't even know why, but that's always been one of my favorite fairy tales. I like the Grimm Brothers one, but I like the other kind more. Especially the ones recently where women have gotten a lot more agency. And in the way of that, the reason that there is a Cinderella month is ever after. So my plan is to have an episode with hopefully a few guests, and we discuss ever after and how it felt and what we enjoyed about it. Like, if was it important to us, if the romance made you sigh. Spoiler alert, I really sighed. But how the world of Danielle was just rocked when she decided to have her own agency and do her own rescuing multiple times, not just of herself, but other people. I just think it's amazing. So I can't wait to have that. And before that, I am going to be doing an episode for KT Grant's Cinderella and the Lady. I am looking for a guest as of right now when this goes live. So, if you would like to be on the episode to discuss it, you can email me at damselspodcast@gmail.com, because I am nothing if not consistent when it comes to the name branding on this thing and how to contact me. There's also some new posts going up for Make It Sweet by Kristen Callahan, and I would like to put that up. That's not a mythology, by the way. It's just a good one. I'm also currently reading, I'm going to say her name wrong, but Aranita? I don't know. I'm sorry. It's Theseus's helper with the Minotaur. It is the king's daughter, so I can't wait. Again, it's that kind of month. I'm going to try and clear that out quickly so I can get to more arcs coming next month, and I cannot wait for that because those are some pretty big ones, and I can't wait to share my opinions with you. I also have a web sheet now of all my cow pile, rating system, which I will link to that and the cow pile system later or under the comments below, because I think it's really cool and it helps you understand how I rate books and why I rate them. I substitute the logic of the world because I consider that kind of more of the plot and the writing for romance, but I consider that the logic to be the relationships within the world. Like, not just the characters, but like how it builds on the world and stuff like that. So it's the characters and world building together. I hope you guys have a good day. I, again, am so grateful for Kerry. You can catch her at KerrYBearlib for her book and her conversations with that. You can also find her at Kerry Brary, which is at Kerry, KerryBrary. And of course, again, at Muppet Profiles, which you guys should be on the lookout for, because soon I will have an episode talking about Skeeter, the most underrated Muppet. I was previously on for Grover, so it's kind of an interesting flip-flop there. I hope you guys have an amazing day. It's at home times right now, but go out, even if it's just like go to your window and just take a breath. Just be happy, or go dive into a book. Oh my God, there's so many good books coming out, guys. I cannot wait until they're all out and we can all talk about them and we can just have conversations, because summer is coming, and I know it's spring now, but summer will be here in 3 months, so let me have it. So, I can't wait to talk about things and to get things going. I'm also doing a secret project on the side, which I will not talk about now. I will be waiting until probably the next episode. I'm setting some things up now. So, again, You can email me, contact me, do everything at Damsels Podcast. I am a little bit of everywhere. And of course, I have my reading challenge, which is Challenging Damsels. You can use the hashtag Challenging Damsels to get in touch. You can also join, there's a Facebook group, and it's just under Challenging Damsels, and it's a pretty simple process to join. I just want to see what people are reading because I think the prompts are pretty good, and especially relevant right about now. So I look forward to talking to you guys next time, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more news along the way. Bye, guys.